Welcome to Mind Decoded, where we explore the psychology behind human behavior. Let's decode today's topic. You're at a party. Some people are energized. They're moving from conversation to conversation, thriving on the social stimulation. Others are drained. They're retreating to quiet corners, counting down until they can leave. This isn't preference. This is neurobiology. Psychologist Hans Eysenck discovered that introverts and extroverts have fundamentally different nervous system responses to stimulation. Extroverts are chronically understimulated. They seek external stimulation to reach optimal arousal. Introverts are chronically overstimulated. They avoid external stimulation to prevent becoming overwhelmed. This is brain wiring, not personality choice. Here's what the difference actually is. Introversion and extroversion describe where you get energy. Extroverts gain energy from external stimulation, social interaction, activity, novelty. After socializing, they feel recharged. Introverts lose energy from external stimulation. The same social interaction drains them. They need solitude to recharge. Psychologist Carl Jung first described this distinction in the 1920s. He emphasized that this is about energy regulation, not social skills. Introverts can be socially skilled. Extroverts can be socially awkward. The difference is whether social interaction depletes or replenishes your energy. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This content is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered medical, psychological, or mental health advice. If you're experiencing mental health concerns, please consult with a qualified mental health professional. The neurobiological basis is dopamine sensitivity. Neuroscientist Cohen found that introverts and extroverts have different dopamine systems. Extroverts have less sensitive dopamine receptors. They need more stimulation to achieve the same dopamine response. This is why they seek excitement, social interaction, novelty. They're chasing the dopamine hit that their brain requires to feel good. Introverts have more sensitive dopamine receptors. They get overstimulated easily. Too much dopamine makes them feel anxious and overwhelmed. They need less stimulation to reach optimal arousal. What feels exciting to an extrovert feels stressful to an introvert. Cortical arousal explains the behavioral differences. Psychologist Hans Eysenck's arousal theory states that introverts have higher baseline cortical arousal. Their brain is already relatively activated. Additional stimulation pushes them into overarousal. They become stressed, anxious, mentally exhausted. Extroverts have lower baseline arousal. They're understimulated at rest. They need external stimulation to reach optimal arousal levels. This is why introverts prefer quiet environments and extroverts prefer stimulating ones. Introverts are trying to avoid overstimulation. Extroverts are trying to reach adequate stimulation. Acetylcholine pathways also differ. Psychologist Marti Olsen Laney's research shows that introverts use a different neurotransmitter pathway than extroverts. Introverts rely more heavily on acetylcholine, which is activated during quiet reflection, reading, thinking. Acetylcholine is associated with the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state. Extroverts rely more on dopamine, which is activated during active engagement with the external world. Dopamine is associated with the sympathetic nervous system, the arousal state. These different pathways mean introverts literally find reward in different activities than extroverts. Reading isn't boring for introverts. It's activating their reward system. Neither is better or worse. This is critical. Western culture, particularly American culture, privileges extroversion. Psychologist Cain's research on the extrovert ideal shows that schools, workplaces, and social structures are designed for extroverts. Open offices, group projects, networking events, brainstorming sessions. These favor people who think out loud and gain energy from interaction. Introverts perform better with quiet workspace, independent work, time to think before speaking, and written communication. Neither style is superior. They're different processing styles optimized for different contexts. But cultural bias makes introverts feel there's something wrong with them. Introverts are not shy. Shyness is fear of social judgment. Introversion is preference for less stimulation. Psychologist Jennifer Grimes distinguishes these clearly. A shy extrovert wants social interaction but fears rejection. An introvert doesn't fear social interaction. They just find it draining. After socializing, they need alone time to recover. This distinction matters because shy people need anxiety treatment. Introverts need energy management. Trying to fix introversion as if it's a problem causes harm. It's not a disorder requiring treatment. It's a normal variation in nervous system sensitivity. The spectrum matters more than the categories. Most people aren't pure introverts or pure extroverts. Psychologist Brian Little coined the term ambivert for people in the middle. They have characteristics of both. They enjoy socializing but also need alone time. They can be outgoing in familiar contexts but reserved in unfamiliar ones. Personality psychologist Daniel Nettle found that about 2/3 of people are ambiverts. Only the extremes are consistently introverted or extroverted across all situations. Even people at the extremes can act out of character temporarily. But it costs energy. An introvert can act extroverted at a networking event. But afterward, they'll be exhausted and need recovery time. Situational factors affect expression. Psychologist William Fleeson's research shows that personality traits vary based on context. Introverts act more extroverted in comfortable, familiar situations with trusted people. Extroverts act more introverted when tired, stressed, or in unfamiliar environments. The baseline preference stays the same, but expression varies. This is why you can't judge someone's introversion or extroversion from a single interaction. The quiet person at the party might be an introvert, or they might be an extrovert having a bad day in an uncomfortable situation. Work performance depends on role fit, not personality type. Psychologist Adam Grant's research shows that neither introverts nor extroverts are universally better performers. Extroverts excel in roles requiring networking, persuasion, quick decision-making, and high stimulation. Sales, business development, emergency response. Introverts excel in roles requiring deep focus, careful analysis, independent work, and minimal interruption. Research, writing, programming. When personality matches role demands, performance is high. When there's mismatch, performance suffers regardless of which direction. Forcing an introvert into a high-stimulation role or an extrovert into an isolated role creates stress and underperformance. Leadership effectiveness depends on team composition. Psychologist Adam Grant found that introverted leaders outperform extroverted leaders when managing proactive employees. Introverts listen more. They're less likely to feel threatened by others' ideas. They give employees autonomy. Proactive employees thrive under this leadership. Extroverted leaders outperform introverted leaders when managing passive employees. Extroverts provide energy and direction. Passive employees need this to stay motivated. The best leader for a team depends on the team's characteristics, not the leader's personality alone. Social media hasn't changed introversion and extroversion fundamentally, but it's created new contexts. Psychologist Yair Amichai Hamburger found that introverts often prefer online communication to face-to-face interaction. Online interaction is less stimulating. You control the timing. You can process before responding. You can disengage when drained. For many introverts, online interaction is energizing in ways face-to-face interaction isn't. But extroverts often find online interaction unsatisfying. It lacks the immediate sensory richness and spontaneity they crave. This creates interesting dynamics where introverts seem more social online than in person, while extroverts seem more social in person than online. Energy management is the key skill. Introverts need to protect downtime. Psychologist Lori Helgo emphasizes that introverts must schedule solitude the way extroverts schedule social events. If you're an introvert and your calendar is packed with meetings and social obligations, you'll burn out. You need buffer time between commitments. You need entire evenings or weekends with no plans. This isn't antisocial. It's essential energy management. Extroverts need the opposite. If they're isolated too long, they become depressed and lethargic. They need regular social contact. For extroverts, too much alone time is as draining as too much social time is for introverts. Relationship dynamics require understanding and negotiation. When an introvert dates an extrovert, conflict is inevitable if both expect the other to meet all their social needs. Psychologist John Gottman's research on relationships shows that successful couples accommodate different social needs. The extrovert has friends and activities separate from the relationship. The introvert gets time alone without the extrovert feeling rejected. Neither tries to change the other. They respect that different nervous systems have different requirements. When introverts try to keep up with extroverted partners socially, they become resentful and exhausted. When extroverts expect introverted partners to be their only social outlet, they become frustrated and restless. Parenting requires adapting to the child's temperament. Psychologist Jerome Kagan's research on temperament shows that introversion and extroversion are apparent in infancy. Some babies are highly reactive to stimulation. They become distressed easily. They grow into introverted children and adults. Some babies are minimally reactive. They seem understimulated. They grow into extroverted children and adults. Parents often struggle when their child's temperament differs from theirs. Extroverted parents worry their introverted child is lonely or depressed. Introverted parents feel overwhelmed by their extroverted child's constant need for stimulation. Understanding these are neurobiological differences, not problems, changes parenting approach. Productivity systems should match your type. Extroverts often work well in collaborative environments with frequent check-ins and verbal processing. Psychologist Brian Little's research shows they think out loud effectively. Brainstorming sessions, talking through problems, working alongside others. These help extroverts process and generate ideas. Introverts work better with deep work blocks, minimal interruption, and time to think before speaking. They process internally. Forced brainstorming feels uncomfortable and unproductive. They need to think alone first, then share conclusions. Neither system is better, but forcing everyone to use the same system disadvantages roughly half the population. Understanding introversion and extroversion as neurobiological differences in stimulation sensitivity changes everything. You stop trying to fix your personality. You stop judging others for having different needs. You design your life around your nervous system's requirements instead of fighting them. If you're an introvert, you protect downtime and choose careers and relationships that allow recovery. If you're an extrovert, you ensure regular social contact and stimulation. If you're an ambivert, you balance both. Your personality isn't a choice, but how you manage your energy is. And management starts with accepting what your nervous system actually needs. And that's how the mind works. If this helped you understand yourself better, subscribe for weekly psychology insights. Thanks for watching.